Welcome to the Valve Bounce. It's all happening. We're back amongst it after the AGP. And guess what?
What?
The team's back together.
Yay!
We are all here in the same state, in the same recording location. It's amazing. It's been a while. It's been busy, but good to have you back here.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. It's back from a holiday. Need another one, you know, the usual.
Yeah, yep. You go for a holiday, you need another one when you get back.
That's it.
What a massive weekend. In this pod, we're just going to do a bit of a wrap-up of the F1 and mainly the supercars. But what a massive AGP.
What a massive weekend, full stop.
Just so much going on with all forms of kind of racing happening. But yeah, it was big for us with both F1 and supercars.
Yep, absolutely massive, mate. And it was good to see big crowds. Almost 500,000 down at the old park, which is pretty impressive if you ask me.
Well, I remember the days of 250-ish, and that felt busy.
It did,
So
it did.
I can't imagine, it must have been absolutely wall-to-wall with people down there.
I'd say so.
Yes. Well, let's kick off, and let's obviously congratulate Carlos Sainz.
Mr. Appendix.
Mr. Appendix. At the end of the race, his engineer was asking if he could find another appendix to take out so they can come back and keep winning. But what a massive effort, and just he was pretty good all weekend.
He was massive couple of weeks for him, really. I mean, I can't imagine going into hospital, having surgery, and then trying to jump back in an F1 car, let alone win a race. It's it's a solid effort by Team Sainz.
It is, and like they must be. They won't be second guessing themselves, because I guess if you have the opportunity to sign Hamilton, you're probably always going to do it. But man, they must be thinking, did we sign Charles too early?
No, I don't think so. Look, as good as Sainz is, and congratulations to him again, but I understand why you bring Hamilton in and why Sainz leaves.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about the drive, it's everything that goes with the driver. Outside of it and behind the scenes as well. So it's a bit of a annoying thing, because I agree Sainz is a mega driver, and I hope that he lands somewhere decent. I'd love to see him actually have a real crack at a championship one day.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this year he's going to give it his best. He's certainly doing that. With a podium in the first race, missed the second, and then winning the third. I mean, just taking the opportunities as they come. But I mean, he's stepped up to be pretty much the lead driver technically.
Yeah.
So maybe a sign of things to come for old Charles Leclerc when Hamilton gets there next year.
Yeah. Look, will be very interesting to see.
Yes, it will. Well, I guess he claimed that victory fair and square, but geez, the old Verstappen was a bit of a smoky.
He was a bit of a smoky. Interesting one that weekend, because it was the first time that I reckon overall that I've seen Red Bull for a while now actually be on the back foot across the weekend. Not just, one thing here or there. It was, they weren't happy with the car most of the weekend, and then that was just the icing on the cake. It was great for me.
Yeah, well, I think at the time my phone kind of was locked up a bit, but I went to send one GIF of being excited when Verstappen crashed out and everything locked. It started sending about 50 of them, and I didn't want to get rid of them because they were all valid. It was so great to... I'm not even sure. I think he still would have won without the braking issues, but I don't think it would have been a clear cutaway. They just weren't comfortable. They didn't have dominant pace all weekend.
No.
And Sergio, which, look...
Who?
Yeah, I mean... rumour is they have re-signed him already for next year. I'm not sure if, why they would.
That'll be done.
There'll be a performance clause.
Yeah, I think I actually think, and this has got no basis at all, but mark my words, Sainz is taking that spot.
Well, yeah, that is the hot mail, and you definitely will feel there's going to be changes amongst that Red Bull team, and he would have to be. I guess the only question that's going to be raised is Sainz too dominant of a team like player co-driver. I don't want to say co-driver. He's in his own right. But really, when you're in Verstappen's team, that's really what you're meant to do. So is he going to ruffle the pack too much?
Yeah, he probably will. I think what happened when they were in Toro Rosso was he was a little bit too close to Max.
Yeah.
So it'll be good and bad, right? I think Red Bull actually need to sign him personally.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the other teams at this point, they have the least strength. That's not right. They're not the strongest pairing compared to other teams. And, you know, Leclerc and Sainz to me are extremely strong. Even to the point that swapping out bringing Hamilton in and swapping Sainz out, I don't think it strengthens it that much different. Like, it's similar to me. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I think that, you know, it looks like that Sainz is maximising what the car can give.
Yeah.
And so that's really all you can kind of expect from any driver. Yeah. So I agree. I think that just for the pure fact of if Sainz goes somewhere else and like to a Mercedes kind of get their car in order, you don't really want to be battling against Sainz. Is the way that I feel about it right now.
If he went to Mercedes and they got their crap together, I predict that he would destroy George Russell.
I agree.
I don't think George is good enough.
No,
not at the moment anyway.
No.
I think he could be, but I don't think he's quite there for some reason. I don't know why, because when he first started, I really actually felt like George was not the guy, but one of the next greats. But definitely don't feel that way now.
No, maybe it's a good segue to sort of jump into that Alonso George kind of brake check. Maybe
it wasn't a brake check. Come on.
Well,
not a traditional brake check.
No. My take, I'll go first. I'm quite happy to say that I think it's just a bit of wily old Alonso.
Yep.
Drivers do it a lot where they brake just that bit earlier because it puts the competitor back a little bit, which gives you the space when you come out, right, knowing there's DRS coming. Yep. I think he just overcommitted a little bit and just braked a bit too much. Now, I agree he should have got, I'm not sure about the how strong the penalty was. He should have got a penalty because I think it's not really in the best spirit to be actually doing an almost brake check. I'll say it's almost, right? But what is going on with George? How do you not, as you know, these guys have the best reaction times and, you know, they are hypersensitive to this stuff.
Yep. And
clearly it's George, or maybe it's a little bit of the car that's so sensitive. As soon as he had to apply a bit more brake, like he's not losing aero. He's already close enough.
Yeah.
And like that to me is a bit rubbish. I think he's braked a bit too much. The car's not balanced. He's gone.
Yeah, it's like the go-karts, right? When you used to get too close to come up over a little hill, hit the brake because you're like, oh, I'm too close, and then you lose the back end of the car.
Because it's too much.
Too much. And I just think that's exactly what's occurred. People won't like it, but I actually think that Alonso didn't really do anything particularly wrong. It would be interesting to see the full telemetry, not the crappy stuff we've sort of half seen.
The overlays, we're not sure how good it is, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see. You want to see the actual telemetry before making a 100% decision on it, but you've got to be allowed to defend.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, it is tactics, and yeah, you can say you shouldn't be, braking where you theoretically shouldn't be braking, but it's how you stop a competitor getting a run, essentially. Yeah. And if that's what you have to do, I mean, especially in DRS, you don't have much of a choice. I mean, ultimately, you want to fix it, buy DRS, and let's go to push to pass.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously got some legs based on this. I think the reason why I feel like it still was, it was borderline, it was almost brake check, was just the fact that he did brake. We have seen the telemetry where he did then get back onto the accelerator again briefly, and so that's why I think he just didn't time it the best way, rather than being an early brake to get that kind of advantage and to surprise George. But it's still, it's what racers do.
They do.
And the DRS is, what he was thinking about. So
yep, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think Sainz would complain anyway, because this is the second time he's won a Grand Prix with George crashing on the last. And I did actually see something else where the third one that he's won, but where George crashed on the first lap, which was Silverstone. So I'm tipping that George is going to have his car sabotaged by Sainz a little bit more. Just in the fingers crossed that it means that he's going to win a Grand Prix.
Look, yeah, that's quite possible. And yeah, I mean, when you talk about Sainz, he's the only one who's won. Like,
I know.
In the last two years. Like, I know Oscar won a race.
Yeah, he did. A sprint.
But really, in the GP, it's only Sainz. It's insane.
It's
insane.
It's crazy to think about. But,
it is.
Hopefully there is a few more races like that throughout the year, and it's not just going to be a bore snooze fest.
Definitely.
Well, let's jump to our fellow Aussie, Danny Rick.
Do we have to talk about him?
Well, we're going to probably talk about him pretty soon.
Yeah.
The word on the street is 2 rounds. I don't even think he's got that. He just love him, but I think his time's done. He just can't seem to shake it.
Yeah, he doesn't like these cars, that's for sure. Or his driving style doesn't like them at all. Yeah, it's interesting because he was more suited to the car last year.
Yeah.
So whatever changes they've made to that car have really gone the way of Yuki. He seems to be much happier. And Daniel's really struggling to find that pace. Now, I don't know if it's 2 races. I have a funny feeling in his little contract of contracts that it's more like you have to be at Yuki's level. And if you're off of Yuki's level for more than 3 races, then you'll get asked type of thing. Rather than, you got at this deadline of Miami, for instance. So,
and it's always hard with Marco involved because you don't know how much is actually just him being ruthless to put the word out on the street so that he's making Danny Rick jump. Danny says how high, or whether it's actually legitimate there. But yeah, you're right. I think the clause would there should be something in there that would balance him against his teammate. But it's so. You think about it, if Liam Lawson's in that car, like the way
he's taking it to Yuki.
Yeah, he's probably beating him if it's on. If the car's like it was last year, where he. He dropped in halfway through Zandvoort, did a great job, and then Singapore cleaned up, got points for them. It just
qualified for Verstappen.
Yeah, I mean, I know small loophole, but still he can tick that box.
That's it.
And so you just know that Liam would be doing a much better job, and so that's why I think it's really hard to justify.
And you could really see over the weekend that Danny was in his own head again.
Yeah.
It's like you're scratching his head with no real answer to it. So it's hard. I think it's getting closer to the end than it is anything else. So
and I will say timing is bad because I don't think he ever gets out of his own head at his home Grand Prix.
No, he doesn't.
He's never ever. He's had one really good race where he got a podium, then it was disqualified. And then he's never ever had a good race here.
That's the last race I attended.
Well, there you go. He left happy.
But the race itself, that's the last one that I actually attended.
He actually attended, normally do the qualies and stuff and then leave. Right. I guess lastly, McLaren, great job all round. Oscar really showing and taking it to the rest of the field. So, second year in, and he's really, he is absolutely taking it to Lando. Lando on the podium again. Great result from him. Excellent. Like he really stood up for the quali. Drove well.
But Oscar muffed the last part of quali.
Yeah, he did
under his own admission.
But that's what you got to keep your car. Performing at the top. That's what you have to do.
And how good you muff your qualifying. You still what, 4th?
Yeah,
whatever it was. It's like
thanks,
Bruce. 5th in the end. 6th overall, but 5th. It's not bad. And I mean, just to touch on the old switching of teammates, because I saw a few people going off and getting a bit angry. Yes, frustration, but at the same time, can we all just take a chill pill and realise that they were on completely different strategies, and Oscar was limited by his strategy. So I also saw the other thing where like Oscar was so far away from Lando. No, He wasn't. He had like 6-7 lap older tyres in that last stint. You're naturally going to fall away.
I think that's probably something that I've seen a lot more in recent years, where some of the nuances of like, okay, who's on what tyres, playing out the strategy, which doesn't seem to, like when you watch or listen to a podcast from the race or from others, they always, it's very clear. I get it, you get it. It seems very simple. But when you go to social media in the broader sense, there's so much confusion that people just don't seem to understand that nuance. And it's easy to be disappointed because home Grand Prix, you wanted to sort of have a crack. But he was. They were just different strategies, and so that's just the way it had to roll.
And ultimately, if Oscar had out-qualified Norris and was the one hunting,
he would have had
that strategy, and he probably would have gotten that podium. So it's just one of those things. I'm glad. It's good to see that the McLaren was stronger, but I do think that car gets a bit more affected by heat.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they go in Japan anyway.
Yeah, so I guess wrapping up the F1, what's your take on the Australian Grand Prix?
I actually thought it was really good. Interestingly, I listened to the P1 podcast. And they actually thought it was quite boring. I didn't find it boring at all. I thought it was full of, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm following Oscar. The people that I follow, where it's Leclerc and so forth, but I always had something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, considering the lack of like safety car kind of intervention like last year with red flags galore, that that wasn't needed. I don't think it seemed to be.
No.
I mean, there was the bit the middle part which sometimes can get a bit boring, but I think it's probably the best kind of race other than the really spectacular last year that we've had in a while, with people being able to pass, the strategies kind of folding out nicely. So I was quite happy. I thought it was a good one.
It was a really good race. Yeah, definitely. Good one.
Nice. Go Melbourne. I know, it is a bit of a boring track.
It's good. I like it.
Right. Let's move on to Supercars. So obviously Supercars were at the AGP as well. So maybe that's a good start to kick off of, should Supercars be the fourth preferred category at the AGP?
Yep.
What's your take?
Yep.
Definitely?
100%.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
Fuck pit stops. How much better was the rest of the racing all weekend?
The passing, because of the way the track layout is, there's no like strategy that everybody's following, so you basically know where.
Sorry about that. I'll just switch that one to
what was I saying?
silent.
Yeah. So there's no the strategy isn't rolled out for everyone doing basically the same thing.
Yep.
It was actually much better racing.
It was.
And I sort of think that despite the lack of pits and everything else, I think it was actually worthwhile. I think it was a great event. Yeah.
Perfect success. I actually think that if Supercars decide not to go back, they are the dumbest in the world, like dumbest people in the world. You've got 500,000 people attending. You've got to go. Like, I don't care what you say. That should be our season opener. Fuck Bathurst. Let's go to the AGP season opener. I don't care. I think it's got to be better.
Based on that, you heard it here first. Supercars will not be returning to the AGP. Look, I agree. I think I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about that season opener, and I think Supercars being locked to that regional New South Wales event is screwing up the calendar.
Yep.
And next year, I think it would be perfect. I do think maybe a non-championship round could be worthwhile as a season opener rather than the season opener.
Yeah.
Only because of kicking things off, then it might cloud the way the rest of the championship unfolds.
Yep.
But I think, you're right. You're crazy if you don't. The hype and everything else around F1, you'd be crazy not to.
You got to take advantage of that. I mean, they had maybe 100,000 at Bathurst, like in total, not even. And you'd be nuts, absolutely nuts. Supercars, if you're listening, take it from me. Keep the AGP.
Yeah. Well, and just a final bomb that I can drop here. If you saw the Stefano
Domenicali.
Yep, that's the dude. My English is good. He was interviewed on Fox, which I happened to catch, and he basically declared they are trying to get them to another round. So that rumours and the talk of perhaps Singapore.
I'll tell you what, if they go to Singapore, I'll try and book flights.
Oh, there you go.
I reckon that'd be a cool event. With having supercars there and F1, that'd surely be a cool event.
Yeah, under lights. It's been a while since we've had a really good... I know we've done lights events. But I mean, it's always a tough one because of the expense and stuff. But yeah, I think branding-wise, it could be quite good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Anyway, all right. Let's go to, well, we'll try not to cry too much, but for us as more Ford boys, geez, we could have actually done all right on the weekend.
Yeah, could have, being the operative.
If we weren't always taking each other out.
Yep. That was hard to watch.
It was really hard to watch.
I may have thrown something at the TV. I may have lost my shit, and if you saw some of my Facebook posts, you would have been like, yep, Steve's lost it. He's
an angry little guy.
I'm sorry, let's go into it.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one being the Waters Payne incident.
Yep.
What was your take on that? Who do you think was to blame? Do you think there should have been any form of penalty, or do you think Supercars handled that well?
I think they handled it well.
I agree.
I am very much I know a lot of times we do agree, and so very often, not very often, but mostly. But I just think Craig Baird, who's the DSO who adjudicates on these things, I think he saw Cam pushing him, bumping him offline into turn 13. Is that?
Yep.
And then obviously he ended up in a spot right next to where Payne was. Look, Payne could have done better. His situational awareness, I find it hard to believe that a really young guy like him isn't aware of what's going on.
No.
And I think he was just trying to open it up and maybe squeeze, because he got bumped, just squeeze him a little more so he could still get the best run and also protect against the bloody Red Bull that's basically
right up his clacker,
waiting to take them.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it was play on. I mean, it was pretty shit result for us as Ford people, but yeah, I just think that's racing.
It was. Honestly, Payne's actual pass was exceptional. Yeah. No touching, no issues.
Yeah.
You go into that second last corner, he's always going to defend from that. So Waters just needed to be smarter.
Yeah. And
not serve him.
Yep.
And yeah, I agree. Payne shouldn't have moved over as probably aggressively as he did.
Yeah.
But I can understand he would have come through that corner, been full of hot air, I am sure.
Oh yeah.
And looked in the mirror, seen a Red Bull right up his clacker, and then gone, right, I've got to move over and protect and get the best run I can. And as he's probably gone left, he's probably gone, shit. Waters, whack!
Yeah.
So yeah, I am bitterly disappointed. Exceptionally excited for what's to come, especially from the likes of Payne, because the pace we're seeing. But yeah, man, it's frustrating.
Well, I hope you, if you were that angry that you needed a drink, did you use your Ned Whiskey code? We're not sponsored either. But
no, but how good was that?
It was very good. So
even Peter Adderton jumped on and applauded Ned Whiskey for jumping on board with that and making the best. And that's what sponsors need to do.
Yeah, I do. And I guess for those that didn't see it, Ned Whiskey is a sponsor of the Grove cars that Payne drives for, and they basically put out a statement that was effectively saying, look, tough love, we're all in it for racing, but if you want to buy some whiskey, use the code SaltyCam, and they gave a discount to people, and apparently it worked really well. So it just shows you when you're smart about the way you go marketing and the way that you engage, and what the term they use, activate through motorsport. You can get the results on your sponsorship dollars.
Exactly, and this is what we need from all the sponsors, like not just Peter Adderton and Boost, and I think some of them might slowly actually understand what they need to be doing.
Might start switching on.
Yes.
All right, well, let's go to another painful incident. So, 2 Fords. Mostert.
Chaz!
Come on, man. How many times are you going to do this? I love him. But he does have a habit of going too deep under brakes. He's taken Waters out a few times.
It's not even a passing spot. Like, it's not even I just don't... Like, I love you, man. You are, like, one of my favourite drivers, but those little things, they need to stop. They're killing me.
He had such great... Like, he was really the lead Ford in terms of being able to even recover from certain small mistakes or challenges with bumps and things. He recovered so well, had pace throughout the weekend.
Yep.
The new engineer
is doing wonders.
Absolutely. Much as I love Adam DeBore and the friendship, etc. they had, Sam is absolutely killing it because the new direction is working for Chaz.
It is, and I think it's working for Ryan as well, based on a lot of the pace and some of the epic overtaking moves he had on the weekend. I know I'm a fanboy, piss off. But
it was a little like Hero Zero though, like he was, whoa, look at that. Oh, no.
Cam Hill could just get the fuck out of the way and it'll be right.
Well, I think Woody made sure he did. Bump, 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 bump.
Well, just get out of the way.
So maybe one too many bumps there, only 3.
I do find that penalty probably a little slightly too harsh. Maybe 15 seconds. Yeah. 30 seemed a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're just trying to make a point of it to say we don't want this.
Yep.
I think he needs to give Beto a cuddle. I think I heard someone say that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good move, and just say, I'm sorry. Hug it out, alright?
But first top 10 finish for him, just to quickly.
Yes, he did. That was race 5.
Yeah, the race 5. So
which is great because he is showing he's got the pace. And look, rookie season. He's just finding his way. And given he did no racing in round 1, this was a really good start.
And he's outperforming what Nick Percat could do in that car.
Yeah, well, great segue because my goodness, there was some shots fired from Nick Percat, who did I'm not really sure why, but he had a great tail end of that weekend. Took the win out in race 6.
Yep.
And drove brilliantly. He's got his mojo back.
He does.
I just don't know. Why don't you think it worked at WAU?
I actually can't answer that question. I'm not entirely sure. It's really strange because it wasn't just the Mustang, it was the Commodore before that. It just never gelled. So it didn't matter what car he was in, he could not extract any pace out of it, which is odd because we know he's a half decent steerer, and since he's been at MSR, he's been more aggressive on the front foot, and okay, he got into the back of Chaz, which annoyed me. But, but at the same time, he's actually close to the front. Like, he's pushing all the time and doing a good job. So, good on you. You can probably tame your mouth a little bit, as we all probably can. But other than that, I want to see that fiery stuff anyway, because it's a bit of part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, we'll do a wrap-up of what, that kind of activity is good for the category. But what I find really interesting is that there doesn't even seem to be any stuff that's happening, whispers about what went wrong. No. I mean, we all know once it wasn't working, he really then kind of fell into that rut, and WAU were kind of like, well, you're not doing what you should, right? So, it's the best outcome for both parties because WAU are able to move forward, and I think they're going to once Woody kind of gets settled in the next year or so.
Yep.
And clearly for Percat, it would have been a bit like a Danny Ricciardo. It could have been make or break. He goes to the team, fails, and then he's done. But he's been able to get his mojo back, so it's awesome.
And it's great to see. Like, Nick's a good guy, right? Yeah. Like, when I've ever ran into him at the back of the paddock or anything like that, when he was in Holden's, I used to chastise him on occasion. Like, he was always a bit of banter, a bit of fun. Yeah. And I think that's the case. And I know Chaz and him are still pretty good mates. So it hasn't worked out for WAU, but you're right. For both parties, it's a much better outcome.
It is. So that is onto now. We've got our homologation team. So let's start with Triple Eight. Little scary. Their mojo's back. They've got 2 drivers, which Feeney was always kind of building last year. Shane was really struggling in the car, so it was bringing the team down.
Yep.
Brown and Feeney, it is on like a Donkey Kong.
It is, and it's tit for tat.
It's going to be... I know they keep talking about it in the commentary and the media, how they're like, oh, when's it going to crack, when's it going to... But it is building. It is getting there.
It will happen, and it'll be interesting when it does. I will say, though, Brown is playing the smart game.
I think so.
Like, he is pushing when he has to push and winning when he has to win, and he knows that it's getting on Feeney's nerves.
Yeah, because it was always, I've mentioned it in previous podcasts that I felt like Brown was going to go really well because when you go to a Triple Eight, the bulk of the team, everything is so rock solid that you can just go do your best driving. And I just thought that he was always going to thrive. And I think that is now showing. Yep, Feeney's still, obviously they've got great cars, great engineering. They're going to be at the front of the pack. So Feeney's always going to pick up some wins here. But feels like Brown just keeps niggling that little bit and goes out, ends up just taking the championship lead again. And
you just see like Feeney had that little mistake late in the race. It was race 4 or 5. 4.
Oh God, 4 races.
Too many races.
I think it was race 4, but had that mistake
that little
at turn 13.
Dropped him back, and those are the little things that I know. I saw an article saying, I've got to fix those little mistakes up, but they're happening because he's under pressure. Yeah. And that's, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will. So, the other team, homologation team, DJR.
Who?
Like, there was just this small pockets of where you thought, all right, Anton kind of qualified well, and you're thinking, all right, we might be on here.
Apart from Anton's qualifying random.
He had one, Anton didn't even compete in the last race because there was a suspension wheel loose or something, which we still haven't checked all the ins and outs of that, but I mean, clearly something wasn't bolted on properly or tightened up, so he ended up not participating at all. And so I guess at the start of the season, when things didn't go well in round 1, there was a lot of talk about Kai Allen and him taking over, and everyone keeps talking about probably Will Davidson. But I want to ask you the question, will it be Will or Anton that ends up...
Hard to say. So I just wanted to have a quick look where he finished after qualifying second. He ended up 7th. But...
That was his best performance of the weekend.
That was the best performance of the weekend. So it's really, really difficult because both of them are in no man's land at the moment. To be honest, if DJR get their way, the 2 will go and some Coke specialist might pop in there and Kai Allen will join. I actually think that place needs to freshen up. I think they both need to go. I love Davo. He's always been one of those drivers that I just enjoy watching. But I don't think he's delivering anywhere near as well as he used to. And Anton is just... I don't know, man. Since he turned up at DJR, that just hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked.
He's got to probably, like Percat, fresh break.
Yeah, that was why I asked the question because, ultimately, I think from the results so far, Davo has been a little bit more consistent. So Anton's had some better results, like, after finishing second. I mean, he shouldn't really be down in seventh, but, to then have absolute rubbish at the back of the field, I just don't see how you can, although the natural flavour is that Will's older and Anton's got more time. Yeah. But I'm like you. I don't think it's ever going to work for Anton there. Now, and that could be just both parties. He doesn't have the confidence in the team because they've been struggling. The team's not quite gelling or delivering what they should right now. But I think a fresh break, and if they deliver a Supercars champion and then Kai Allen, then they'll both be out. But I think if it's one seat, I think Anton needs to beat his teammate for the next 2 or 3 rounds to sort of drop that kind of whispers and that pressure off his shoulders.
I kind of feel like both of them, right? One needs to either dominate the other, and that one will stay and the other one will go. Yeah. Otherwise, they might just both be turfed, as we were saying. So
yeah, and it's funny because I haven't heard any interviews with Anton about it, but Will was asked the question about Kai Allen, and he did say, it feels like sometimes you're training your possible replacement because he's teaming up with him at Bathurst or for the Injuros. So he's well aware of it, and I just wonder whether, I haven't heard that much from Anton, whether he's feeling that pressure or not. But
you'd have to. You're a normal human being. We all feel the pressure. Whether we acknowledge it or not is a different thing. But I would say he's feeling it. I definitely think he is.
Yes. Well, that sort of wraps up. And I guess as a sort of, for me, a closing statement, I think the round was a huge success in front of so many eyeballs. I think the fiery nature of some of the crashes that happened and the freedom, I'll say freedom, it was still a little bit contained, but the freedom that some of those drivers had, that they were talking and you could see the emotion, I think that was great for the sport. So I think it was really good weekend, solid weekend. We haven't really touched on, but parity as well. It looks like it's pretty close. It's damn
very
good.
Close. Like, I mean, that's a performance track, straight line track, really, and both of them came away fairly. Whatever DJR have been doing, kudos. I know they're not doing well in terms of on-track performance, but whatever they're doing in that engine department, it seems to be
it's made a difference. We haven't heard anything about what they've done with shift cuts or anything, which I think there might have been. They just felt like there had to be changes because no one was talking about it. So it sort of felt like it was good. And the wind tunnel work obviously has paid off.
Definitely. The cars seem a lot better. They don't. It just. Overall, it felt almost circa 2003, 2004. Just that good time where it was very balanced across the project blueprint at the time. I feel like we're sort of maybe heading into that space, even though Triple Eight are winning.
Maybe. Don't speak too soon, okay?
Well, I've got to be optimistic, mate, because everybody else is a sad sack of shit, so... So I've got to be positive, Steve.
Cam Waters? Don't
get me started.
All right, let's get on to the predictions. There is... So please, I'm sorry, this format it was a nightmare. I was under the pump to get the last video out. Steve was away. Oh my God.
I literally threw some names at him.
So like... having so many qualities, so many races, it was a bit chaotic. So we're going to try and fire through them and we'll just give the results of how we went. So so maybe let's start with, I'll do yours and you can do mine.
All right, let's do that.
So you successfully got 1 point, if we're kind of wrapping it up in a speedway. Race 5 you picked Feeney. And Brock Feeney won that race.
Yeah, well,
all your others, your qualies and your races, Brown and then Feeney won, Mostert and then Waters won, and you're like, the quali. It was a mixed bag. We had most of the names, apart from your little loose cannon of putting Wood in there. We all kind of had the similar names apart from Waters, and you managed to scrape in 1 point.
The problem is, like, it's so hard. Like, you sent me the message saying predictions, and I went, oh yeah. And then it's like, okay, what do we got? Well, who do we know? All right, Brown, Feeney, Brown, Mostert, blah, blah, blah. Like, literally going off the last sort of thing. They're the names I threw out, but I just didn't throw them out in the right order.
So what you're saying is, being the positive person, well done on getting one. We threw it together in 2 seconds.
That's correct. All right, so let's have a look at yours. So you've done well. You got 2 points. 1. But 2 points. So you picked your qualifying, which was for race 3. And you predicted race 3, which was both frickin' Feeney. Feeney, and got the job done. But your others were like mine. You picked Brown or Mostert or Waters, and it was always in the wrong spots. And surprisingly, none of us picked Payne.
No. notably, we left out Payne.
Yep.
No one was going to get Percat, I don't think. We wouldn't have thought that was possible. But yeah, we missed Payne, and we picked Waters at the wrong time. Like, I was had Waters, and I was tipping he'd get better as the weekend went on.
Yep.
And in fact, he did the total opposite.
Yep. He cracked the sads and then went worse.
Yep. Quality for race 4 was perfect at pole, and then just.
I'll tell you. Oh, man. Anyway, moving on from the Tickford show.
Yes, so let's get on to our NOS Awards, which is where we award points for the people drivers.
Yeah, so 3 NOS bottles, 2 NOS bottles, 1 NOS bottle type
Yeah. Who was your 1, 2 and 3 NOS bottles for the weekend?
Yeah. Alright, so I'll go from 1 out to 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to give 1 point to the man with the mouth, Nick Percat.
Ooh. Red hot. Yep.
Loving the shots fired. I think he definitely gets 1 point because he got the race win. He was there or thereabouts most of the weekend. Just annoyed me that he served up Chaz.
Yep.
For 2 NOS bottles, I gave Matty Payne for both his qualifyings and just unfortunate. Like, his racecraft was really good, aside from getting walloped and
spatial awareness
taken off.
Maybe.
Yeah, but most of the time it was pretty good. And to be fair, Waters deserved it. And for 3 points, just because I think he's starting to irritate the crap out of his teammate and keeps putting the weekends together and won the LP award.
Yes, well
Will
done.
Brown. Well done, mate. You're doing well.
Yes, well done. Yeah, interesting you didn't have Feeney in there because, yeah, I know you're a big fan.
Oh, huge fan, mate. Radar.
Speaking of fans, look, for my 1 NOS bottle, I did put Mostert. Now, I did debate a little bit in my head when I wrote that. I just felt like he really is or has the potential to be the championship leader, to take it, to be the lead forward guy. He just always came back with pace. He always was on where he needed to. His tyres are lasting. Made a few mistakes, I get it, but I just feel like I think this could be the year that he might not win, but I think it's going to really take that step and get real close.
You know what this reminds me of?
Oh, no.
So this, and not to show my age, but back in 1999.
Back in my day.
Back in my day.
Yes.
There was always 2 HRT cars at the front.
Yep.
Lowndes and Scaife. And who was the guy chasing them?
Always the same guy.
Cito chasing.
Yep.
It's always, and that's what I'm getting. This is what I feel like this year's going to be about. Yeah. I'm hoping, and it does seem to be, that the Groves are starting to get a little bit more pace.
They are.
I'm hoping that becomes a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, right at this given point, it does feel like the 2 Red Bulls and Chaz.
Yeah. So yeah, so I give 1 point to Mostert. For my 2 points or 2 NOS bottles, I've gone for Percat and sort of stole my thunder a little bit. 1 point for the win and 1 point for the little backhanded slap that he gave. Which, it was a little bit probably unnecessary, but it's great for the sport.
It is good for the sport.
And then 3, I have gone for Brown.
Oh, stop copying me.
I know. I considered putting Feeney in, but I just felt like whilst he's there or thereabouts, he made the mistake, and I think that, like, we can't always, I don't want to always give points for the people who are the winners and that are always up the front of the field. I want to give a few mixed bags every week. But I just think Brown is really taking it to his teammate. He's being far more consistent.
Yep.
Really, he had a great weekend. He's a championship leader. I've got to give him 3.
Yep.
That's my NOS Awards. Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, when you talk about Brown, the fact that he lost, so after that first race, he lost the championship lead, he immediately responded.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And he didn't respond in like having an off or trying to overdo it or anything like that. He responded by just getting the job done. And I think that's showing a little bit of maturity and maybe a bit of learning from last year.
Maybe. Yep.
So, yes.
I agree. Righto.
All right.
Last thing that we do is the Rod Award.
Yeah,
So
all your rod. What?
Yep, the rods.
Con rod.
Bent rods.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I'm looking at the document, and we've got a very similar theme, but perhaps slightly different. So, who did you choose for this weekend's Rod Awards?
It was a battle of four.
It was a battle of four.
And if you don't get that, I'm sorry, but BJR had an absolute shocker. They all sat around the back of the field.
Practice one.
Oh, yeah, great. Doesn't matter.
Like, what the hell?
Jonesy boy, and then, But no, I only because I expect better of him. I think the other three, one's learning, the other two are... look, Bryce is good. Bryce is probably closer to Heimgartner than the other two are at this given point.
Yeah.
So,
but we've got to give. But Jackson Evan is rookie.
He's a rookie, so he gets a lead pass for the year because he's learning and he's obviously in the shittest car of the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, Heimgartner, I'm sorry, mate. I love you to pieces. You've come a long way since you were eating chocolate bars with. What do we call her?
Gracie?
Gracie?
We'll just say Gracie.
Gracie? You come a long way, mate. You're doing really well, except for the weekend. That was an absolute shocker.
Yeah.
So you have got my Rod Award, just because even when everyone else is going that bad, man, you should be at least middle of the pack.
Yeah, I know. Right, so for my Rod Award, I'm going for someone from the same stable, but I'm picking Macaulay Jones.
Oh, Jonesy's SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea. Maybe that's where Macaulay should go. Look,
wow.
I just feel like time has come that he's not able to actually help make that team go forward. It's been on Heimgartner's shoulders. Maybe the whole team, just the way they're set up and engineering, they've had a bad one.
Yeah.
But they clearly are not getting any better. And Macaulay was basically at the back of the field. I mean, they all were, but I think the best he got was 19th. I think for the weekend. And I just think there has to be a time where they spend the cash. They either get rid of their 2 extra cars, and then really consolidate to 2, or they spend some money to get a proper driver that can really help them, like Heimgartner, to push them up the field, because it's becoming a bit of a Huss situation in F1 where they're just at the back of the field too much. And we occasionally, once, twice a year, we see a little bit of
slight improvement.
Improvement that they're somewhere up near the 10.
Well, it's really strange, right? Because always at the start of these types of eras where we go from like Gen 1 or Gen 2, blah, 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 it's typically a strong time for BJR because nobody's developed anything or done anything, so they typically come out of the gate quite strong. But it just hasn't translated for Gen 3 for them. And I mean, I kind of agree with you. Macaulay, look, I'm sure you're a great bloke, don't get me wrong, but clearly there's something lacking in your driving ability. I don't know what it is, but there's that last little tenth or two that would get you to Heimgartner that you can't find. I don't know. It's really hard. But that's probably a good shout because he topped like practice and then poof to the back of the field.
And so really just randomly they were kind of up there, and I must admit I didn't watch practice 1, but when I saw the result I was just like, what is going on? There's quite a few randoms, but that was a big one. And then never saw them again. For the rest of the apart from when they were doing their SpongeBob 25th anniversary, which makes me feel really old.
Yes,
because I was quite old when it came out.
That's it. I actually want to do one quick shout out on the weekend who I actually think did a really good job. Most of the weekend, Mark Winterbottom. Yeah,
he really. Well, he did better than Reynolds this time. He was a bit more consistent. Still a little up and down, but I think it definitely feels like that team's got better mojo this year.
Yeah, I'd say they've got a lot more mojo this year. And I just think I don't know. It feels better from that side of the fence, because I know when we came into this and we were doing our little crystal balling, that we were all like, they were going to be down the back of the grid and going to be nowhere like us. But ultimately, they've shown up pretty well. So they've definitely put BJR away at the moment. So I don't know. Really, it's just good to see Frosty back up there, because so many people say that he's lost it and this and that, but I actually think he's still a fairly good driver, quietly.
Well, I think, you know, and we always do this, but, you know, we're judging people on their driving skills compared to the others in the field. You know, they're better drivers than us, but, like, you think about the value Frosty would have over a Macaulay Jones, like, you know, he really is still helping that team. He's really driving the outcome, and together with Reynolds, they're, you know...
Reynolds was taking it to Payne last year consistently, and to go into there and Frosty to actually match it up, I think that still shows that he's got it. So it'll be good to see. I don't want another Camaro at the front, but I'd like to see them sort of battling in that 10 on a consistent basis. I think, you know, I like the tradie beer car, and I like the look of the DeWalt car. So
still, I think the tradie is my favourite. It still looks good. So it's a good call out, but I think that wraps up a bit of a long one, our usual big wrap up.
Sorry, you need to edit this, mate.
I'll just get pedalling over the Easter break. No, I'll get it out pretty soon. But, you know, if you do like it, share it, comment, hit the like, subscribe, do all the things. We appreciate it.
Don't care, just put it in the comments, mate.
We love it. But yeah, appreciate everyone that has jumped on board recently.
100%.
And we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.